Headline reads, Washington accused of illegally giving license to semi-truck driver involved in fatal Florida crash. We're gonna watch this video, but it's the guy's driving a massive semi. He's going down a 70-mile-an-hour highway, and he does a little U-turn action. They test him afterwards. The guy can't speak English. He can't identify hardly any road signs. And he got his CDL, his commercial driver's license, in the state of, yep, you guessed it, Washington State. What could go wrong when you give a CDL to a guy who can't read street signs and he doesn't really know what's going on, doesn't really know the law, doesn't really understand? Hey, I can take my semi and do a U-turn on the freeway. This should work out fine. Yeah, let's get into it. Here we go. This is literally one of those what could go wrong podcasts, right? I mean, we've talked about it. Washington State, went down this road of, we're going to give all these professional licenses to people who aren't citizens that can't necessarily speak the language, but we need to get the workforce going. Well, you gave one to this guy here, and how's that working out? How many people are dead? 3? There's 3 people dead. It's kind of like when you had Chop and Chaz and everything was all Black Lives Matter until 2 black kids got murdered. It's kind of like that. What could go wrong? What could go wrong if we give up a multi-block area in the city of Seattle to some far left-wing nut jobs doing shenanigans? What could go wrong? Yeah, 2 black kids murdered. Not good. Let's watch this video. This is nuts.
This deadly U-turn has sparked a crackdown on truck drivers here in the state of Florida. This driver was in the country illegally, but he still had a CDL. Fox 35's Marley Capper is going to show us what the state is now doing to make sure these drivers are here in this country legally.
What a mess.
Florida Turnpike last week has turned into a crackdown on illegal immigrants driving in the state of Florida.
Someone that never should have been given a driver's license, much less a CDL license.
Investigators say 3 people died after a man driving an 18-wheeler made an illegal U-turn on the turnpike on August 12th.
This accident happened because of Joe Biden's failed border policies and immigration policies.
In 2023, Florida passed a law making it illegal for undocumented people to get a driver's license.
And if you have obtained a driver's license from one of these sanctuary states like California, Washington, those licenses are no good here.
At a press conference Monday, Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Commissioner 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗡 announced a new partnership with the feds. The state's agricultural inspection stations will help identify undocumented drivers.
Ag law is not just looking for agricultural bugs, but we're also looking for drugs and thugs.
His team has already made 150 arrests this year. They have 23 stations and will be adding a new one near the Florida-Alabama border on Highway 231, along with new pullover lanes and x-ray machines to scan vehicles passing through.
We have got to protect our American citizens from the dangers of the open border crisis and illegal aliens that may be engaging in behavior that injures people.
We reached out to State Representative
or kills them.
𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗬. She's heartbroken by the loss of innocent lives, but says proficient.
Good Lord, look at that vehicle. Imagine if that was your loved one that just absolutely slammed into the side of this truck and just probably took their heads right off, right? Hate to be so graphic, but look at that. I mean, horrific. Because a guy tried to do a U-turn on a freeway. Literally. It's beyond words, right? You're like, this is totally preventable. This is completely preventable. This isn't just incompetence. This is multiple steps beyond that. Because in Washington State and these other states, California, they're so messed up in the head that they think, this would be good for the economy. We'll get more people working, without any consideration to, can they drive? Can they read street signs? Can they read traffic signs? Can they speak the language? If you can't, I mean, you imagine going to a whole other country and just getting behind the wheel of a big rig and, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. No. Hard no. But these sanctuary cities, these sanctuary states, they go down this road and then they're like, oh, I can't believe. No, I can. I can absolutely believe it happened. We talked about it. What happens when you give commercial licenses to people that shouldn't be getting them? Things go sideways, literally underneath the truck sideways, and kills people.
In English for a CDL license isn't new. In a statement, she says in part, quote, unfortunately, this tragedy is being weaponized to vilify immigrants as a whole. Community like the Sikh community, who have long experienced elevated levels of hate crimes, are often too scapegoated into moments like this. We must be thoughtful and precise in our words and actions, ensuring that we do not allow tragedies to fuel division and discrimination. Harley Capper, Fox 35 News.
Semi-truck drivers under investigation by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration after he allegedly attempted to make an illegal U-turn in St. Lucie County, Florida, and crashed into a minivan. The minivan crashed into him. He was hanging a lefty. He was hanging a U-turn on a freeway, killing the 3 people inside. He's just like, yep, this is what we're going to do. Probably done it before, hadn't got caught, but he hung a lefty. That minivan, they must have been coming around a corner or something, and all of a sudden you got a semi, the back end of the semi truck just blocking the freeway, and there's nowhere for you to go. You saw the speed at which they were going. They're just boom, killing them. Terrible. Just took the top. Their car. U.S. Secretary of Transportation Sean P. Duffy wrote that the driver did not speak English and said that the driver's legal interactions in Washington, California, and New Mexico should have prevented the driver from being on the road. He should have never had a license in the first place. Never had a license. But that's not what we're doing. We're just handing out licenses and, the illegals, they can get to work. We can get them to work. This is going to be great for the economy. Oh, killed 3 people? Good Lord, the optics on that are not good. Crash was a preventable tragedy directly caused by reckless decisions and compounded by despicable failures. Non-enforcement and radical immigration policies have turned the trucking industry into a lawless frontier, resulting in unqualified foreign drivers improperly acquiring licenses to operate 40-ton vehicles, wrote Duffy. Duffy said that the investigation found the driver was illegally given a CDL in Washington state in 2023. We talked about that. Again, hate to beat a dead horse, but you give a license to drive a big rig like that to somebody who doesn't speak the English language, can't really figure out what's going on. I'll just flip a Yui here. And he did. And he killed people. 2023, because CDLs cannot be given to asylum seekers or people without legal status. Illegally given. Yeah, that's on the federal level, but in Washington state, we can give licenses to all sorts of people here because we believe, they're good people. Nothing will ever come of it. No harm, no foul. It'll all be good. And all of a sudden, you think there might be a lawsuit or two? Hey, you gave out a commercial driver's license to somebody who couldn't speak the language, couldn't pass the test, couldn't do jack, other than crank that wheel, turn that bad boy, sideways on a freeway and boop. Terrible. He also said the driver was given a limited term, non-domiciled CDL in California in 24, that the driver might have gone through a traffic stop in New Mexico in 25 without being given an English language proficiency test, which is required by federal law. Both instances are still under investigation. Somebody's going to get fired. Somebody should be getting fired. Washington state should have the feds up their ass. They really should. There's so many policies here that the politicians here are just so ignorant. They believe the absolute best, and they're shocked time and time again when their policies don't work out. And all you can say is, boy, you saw this one coming from a mile away. This wasn't that hard to figure out. You start cutting corners, it's going to work. We use every tool at our disposal to hold these states and bad actors accountable. President Trump and I will restore safety to our roads. The families of the deceased deserve justice. I wonder what Washington State will do. They're going to backtrack, and they'll probably sue Trump over something. They'll sue Trump, because that's like all that folks are doing in these big progressive states are doing. Let's just sue Trump. Orange man bad. Let's sue him. All right, he did this. Well, let's sue him. I mean, they're not coming up with any good policy on their own, are they? Duffy said that the investigation also showed that when investigators administered an English language proficiency test, the driver failed and only provided correct responses to 2 out of 12 verbal questions. 2 out of 12. What is that? It's a 92% failure rate, something like that. Failure rate. He failed by that percentage. He got 12% right, whatever that percentage is, right? You mathematicians out there, you let me know. The families of the deceased deserve justice. Ugh. Yeah. Nonstop Locals reached out to Washington Department of Licensing for comment. Hey, you issued a CDL to a dude who can't speak English, and he really can't follow road signs because he doesn't know what they are. So, how's that working out there, Washington State? Washington State, my state, is so hosed because of progressive, liberal-driven policy that is mentally impaired, like this, mentally impaired. Some states will have laws allowing them to issue a specific kind of non-domicile CDL to citizens of foreign countries of residents of other states if they have temporary authorization to be in the U.S. That should not be. Initial report from Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles on August 16 said that while the driver was under criminal investigation for deaths caused in the crash, assistance from Immigration and Customs Enforcement determined the driver had entered the country illegally. Okay. All right. You got a criminal illegal doing more crime and committing more criminal illegal acts. Dave Kerner, executive director of the department, said at the conclusion of the driver's state charges, he would be deported, gone, closed. But the problem is what do you tell the families of the 3 people that died? Hey, we're really sorry. Stuff happens. Is that what you say? You don't say, hey, maybe our policy was wrong. Those people deserve reparations. That's an actual example where they deserve reparations because their loved ones are gone. They are dead based on policy that could have been avoided. This should have never happened. In the first place, right? U.S. Department of Transportation threatens to yank federal funding from 3 states for failure to enforce English proficiency rules for truck drivers. So this brings up the question, what other occupancies or occupations are there that Washington has issued licenses for where people are going to be impacted? It's going to be a bunch. And I'm not trying to not put people to work. I want everybody to have the opportunity to work that can. But there's reasons that you have English proficiency rules. You're out on the road, you got to be, what's that street sign say? If you're in a foreign country and you can't read the street signs, you shouldn't be driving a big rig. You shouldn't be driving at all. Hard no-go. You shouldn't be driving, period. Washington State, it's great. Greatest thing ever. Be fine. What could go wrong? Right? Absolutely nutty. Absolutely nutty. So we heard Sean Duffy talk about California, Washington, New Mexico. 30 days to come into compliance if the states do not comply. Duffy says the U.S. Department of Transportation will withhold up to 100% of funding, basically all funding, for Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program. Federal funds to the state for running that program. States don't get to pick and choose which federal safety rules to follow. Well, they have, though, because they've kind of circumvented that. Let's give them a license. Be great. Be good. Guys, Guy's fine. Seems fine. As we saw with the horrific Florida crash that killed 3, when states fail to enforce the law, they put the driver's public in danger. So California has failed. Washington State has failed. New Mexico has adopted the LP regulation, but is failing to enforce it. From June 25, 2025 through August 25, state reported placing 0 drivers out of service for ELP violations and allowed at least 7 unqualified drivers already found unable to meet ELP standards to keep driving and endangering the lives of others. Washington State, same thing. In addition, at least 4 drivers with documented ELP out-of-service violations in other states were later inspected in Washington, yet the state failed to honor those violations or enforce ELP, undermining federal safety standards and leaving dangerous gaps in enforcement. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you have a wreck like just happened in Florida. So, yeah, terrible tragedy. Completely avoidable and based on policy. That's a lot of what we talk about here on News for Reasonable People, is policy that results in something that is otherwise avoidable because it wasn't identified that, hey, enacting this policy from the outside, reasonable people go, maybe you shouldn't try that. Maybe you shouldn't do that. It's like the rope swing going into the lake or into whatever body of water. And it's got just a couple of twines of thread holding it together. And some kid's gonna, just go do it again because, obviously what could go wrong? And he's swinging out over a whole bunch of rocks. And you just want to tell him, you know what? I probably wouldn't do that if I were you, because if you crash, hit that noggin on a big rock, it's going to kill you. And that's what it's like living in Washington State. There's just all these policies where politicians, they can't seem to wrap their head around the fact that, you know what? Things don't always work out in the perfect world scenario that you think they do. Oftentimes they go wildly sideways, and a dude taking a massive rig and cranking it, doing a 180-degree turn on a 70-mile-an-hour freeway with a massive truck. That's one of those things. Hey, let's jump off the rope swing into the water and we'll just see how this goes. And then 3 people are killed. Terrible. Avoidable. Avoidable is an avoidable from a policy standpoint. Not that hard to figure out. You do things for a reason. You don't create shortcuts for a reason. Hey, let's get all these people working. No, let's not. Let's keep the policies in the same place, and let's follow federal law because federal law is there for a reason. I don't agree with all federal law, but when safety issues like this come up, you're like, whose genius idea was it to issue the commercial driver's license without giving this guy a test? How are these guys getting those used to be hard licenses to get, right? Those used to be hard licenses to get. Are they just handing them out like candy now? It seems to me like you used to have to put in some effort. You used to have to be able to put in some effort just to get your driver's license, I knew a bunch of kids that failed because they didn't have all the right answers and they wasn't able to back up quite correctly. Maybe this guy can drive his rig, but if he can't read the signs, got to take him off the roads. How many other guys are there like that guy out there just driving away? Can't read jack anything. All good. It's all good till it's not. Then you got shenanigans. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Bye for now.